Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there, he's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around, who here thinks Ochinko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad Jones. 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochinko can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time
Good show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach, I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now.
Hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Monday, August 12th. I hope everybody had a beautiful, fun-filled weekend. I missed everybody. I missed Mitch. I missed you, even you, Lloyd. I missed you.
Thank you.
I missed all of the people. I missed the show. I missed the studio. It's been a week since we've been here.
Sports.
I watched sports. I wasn't here talking about sports. Lloyd was having some fun in the sun. You were there for a whole week almost. Yeah. How was your vacation to Florida? You avoided the Sharks. Came back.
I did get hurt.
A little banged up.
Yeah, don't play ball in the house.
Yeah,
came back with the orthopedic shoe on.
Yeah. Oh, Lloyd came back with the boot, the walking boot on, limping in.
No
Like,
sock
what the fuck
under
happened?
the shoe, just orthopedic boot limping.
On the beach where you're supposed to be relaxing in the sand, like did you step on a seashell? What'd you do?
No, it was a glass on the ground. Little ball in the house, got a little out of hand.
Oh,
We
so
were watching Hard Knocks, and then we were
Oh,
like, let's
so
get
got
the football.
fired up for football.
Yeah.
In the house.
And then
Grown men.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And we left a little drink on the ground.
Yeah,
You had all this time to cook up a nice story, and that's the one you give us.
Hey, I tell the truth, but you should have seen the blood.
Did you
It
tell
was
the truth?
bad. A lot of blood.
Sliced
Got
you.
stitched up by
You
stitches.
well, good thing you had doctors there. in
No,
the
he was
house.
asleep.
You
That
had
was my
the-
brother.
Okay, your brother stitched you up.
Yeah.
The restaurateur.
And he said I could see the bone. And I was like,
I
well, don't
think
tell
that's-
me that.
I don't think that's the case.
Well, I couldn't see it.
I don't
so.
think you can see the bone. If you saw the bone, I think you'd be in a
He
little
wanted
bit.
to bring me to the hospital, but I was like, I don't think any of us should be driving.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it.
Here.
I'm glad you were able to get it patched up and get back here. The beach was fun, though. Did you get some, I don't see much of a hue. I don't see much pigmentation going on in the skin.
You need
Did
some?
you get a little
A
tan?
little tan.
You need some? I got.
Yeah, you got
You
plenty. Pass it around.
Give them a couple. Give them a couple.
I just tried to-
Couple shades.
We getting close to my time of the year where I get a little lighter, so you know.
Hey.
Tried to
What
take
we
his
doing now?
advice, but no, I realized why it doesn't make the same amount of sense.
What, stay in the shade?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it doesn't work for you unless you're. Oh, maybe for you though, because you could get a little ruby red.
No, I usually get a nice little tan,
Oh,
but
do you get a little bronze?
you know what happened?
What happened?
Steph Curry in the Olympics happened.
Well,
Hard to go
that's-
outside.
And that's what we're gonna get to because the Olympic Games end, right? They had the
With a
closing
bang.
ceremonies, which was very artistic, right? I didn't really know, and this could be me because I'm not very.
Artistic.
No, not necessarily. I'm not artistic at
Autistic.
all. And I'm maybe not very cultured in the sense of I don't know the history of the Olympics as per se. So I didn't really know all the stuff and all the semblance that was going on there, but it was very acrobatic, very cool. They had a bunch of French musicians play. Her played.
Ooh, I like her.
She shreds it on the guitar.
Hey, dude.
Shreds.
She's talented, coach.
on the guitar.
She's impressive.
They had the passing of the Olympic flags to LA for 2028, which Tom Cruise, which is pretty awesome. You know, he jumps out of jumps off the top of the building, right? Gets in there,
down.
propels down, gets the flag, goes through the whole thing, gets on his motorcycle, and drives right up on the airplane, and then goes all the way to LA, and then jumps out of the plane, and then puts the Olympic rings and like the banners or whatever on the Hollywood sign to like
Tom likes to do his own
show,
stunts, man.
which is awesome, very impressive.
I don't know how
Tom
it's
has been
possible.
Tom has been doing it for a long time. Then you had Snoop Dogg, who's been the highlight of the Olympics, come back home.
I'd be the highlight
And
of that check too.
Red Hot Chili Peppers getting old,
Well, so is Tom, but he can still do it.
but you know, look, and Red Hot Chili Peppers, great American band. You know, they did their thing.
Very California.
The very California. Obviously, all of the musicians that were playing back in LA were from California. The guitarist for Red Hot Chili, I don't know his name.
Flea.
Boy, he was getting after it.
He always does.
Did you
He
see
always
his?
does.
He was getting after it. The Will Ferrell lookalike.
The drummer.
The drummer was obviously getting after it, so pretty cool. And then obviously Snoop and Dr. Dre come on there and, to me, steal the show. Billie Eilish was great. So really cool transition from France because I think this Olympics was very entertaining. Very oui. Au revoir. Bonjour. Au revoir. It was very entertaining, right? United States of America leads all countries in medal counts, which I think that is a total medal, which I think is a pretty regular thing. They tied for first in gold medals with China.
God damn it.
Look, China gets all the diving medals.
I said, what did it? What
They
all
get
did
they get
win?
all the diving medals. They get some in the swimming. I believe they get some in like gymnastics, men's gymnastics, I think. And honestly, they shocked me a little bit on the track. They shocked me a little bit on the track because they had some guys competing up there. 40 gold medals, though, that's a lot. You would think that, I don't know, they won their medals. I don't know what they won their medals in,
It's a lot of
but
sports.
they tied for first with the United States. The United States tied first with China in gold in the count. But the gold medal basketball game, to me, now, track and field's electric. Swimming is electric. Gymnastics is pretty cool to watch. You have a lot of really cool Olympic sports. To me, the gold medal game, United States of America versus France, was as electric as you could possibly imagine. And everybody's like, oh, the U.S. should win it. Yeah, but like it's sports and things happen and it's not always a guarantee. And I don't know if you know or if you noticed, but France is pretty good at basketball, right? It's not just Tony Parker anymore, right? Tony Parker was the Frenchman in the United States playing for the Spurs. It was the guy. Now you got a guy who they call an alien who's 7'4" and he plays point guard basically and was a defensive player of the year in the NBA, number 1 overall pick. He's playing for France. Plus, they've had two of the next. This year, they had the number 1 and number 3, or number 2 and number 3 players in the draft. So that's 3 of the top 4 draft picks in 2 years. Very, very, very good team. and you're playing against the best NBA basketball players, some of the best players of all time. LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant revolutionized the game of basketball. You had NBA Finals MVP not even playing. You had Therese Halliburton All-Star not even playing, which great tweet by him, by the way. If you didn't see it, he had the gold medal on the plane or whatever it was, and he says when you get an A on a group project, you don't do anything. But I think the star of the show, actually I know the star of the show, and really the main reason why Team USA won was Steph Curry. And before I get into that performance, and before we get into all of that, I've always respected LeBron James's talent on the basketball court, right? I wasn't a huge fan of LeBron per se. Not necessarily I didn't dislike him. It was just one of those things. Over the last year, I've become more of a fan of LeBron. And after watching what he did with Team USA and kind of how much passion all those guys put into it, fully invested in those guys. Like, that was a pretty cool thing when you have superstars from everywhere come together as one and kind of figure it out. And their competition now, extremely different and way harder than it was in 1992 with the Dream Team. Like, not even close. The Dream Team is playing against guys who, you could probably play in rec pickup games right now, and now they're playing against NBA international superstars. So, we're going to get into that. Let's finish running down these Heineken headlines, but to me, that was the star of the that game was the highlight of the Olympics, and I'm glad it lived up to the expectations. NFL preseason underway. Saints first preseason game. Your boy Lloyd,
The Rattler.
Is he is he the guy? We're gonna find out. First impression. It was a great first impression for all the rookie quarterbacks for the most part. You had 6 first-round rookie quarterbacks come into the NFL, and all 6 of them had to play. Bo Nix, great showing out in Denver. Played a lot. Didn't start, but played a lot. Jarrett Stidham started. He didn't look terrible. Bo Nix looked better. Caleb Williams came out, looked really good. Played, I think, a couple drives. Jayden Daniels came out, looked really good. Big, deep ball. Threaded the needle down the sideline for a big gain. And then rushing touchdown. Looked awesome. Drake Maye didn't do much. Didn't have to do much. It was raining.
It's also pouring
sloppy.
Out rain. Yeah.
Like, don't judge him on that. J.J. McCarthy is, I think, the one that surprised everybody. It looked really good. Looked like he had command of the offense. And then Michael Penix, he's going to get a lot of play because Kirk Cousins, who they spent a bunch of money on, still coming off the Achilles. Michael Penix looked good. So, big first-round draft with quarterbacks. All 6 quarterbacks got an opportunity early on. Now, this preseason, Bill Belichick came on today on the Pat McAfee show and basically was like, look, they're not seeing shit right now on the defensive side of the football. All they're trying to do is get the plays in, get out. Defense is just trying to get out there and get some gameplay. You're not really going to see them or be able to evaluate them that much until the season starts. He goes, you actually evaluate them better before when you have these joint practices than you do on the field in gameplay because they're not really showing you too many looks and too many different things. Malik Nabers escapes disaster. Thought it was a worse injury than it is. Seems like it's just kind of an ankle sprain. And LSU, we're 12 days away, boys, from the first college football game. Not LSU's football game.
It's 20.
20 days away for LSU's, but 12 days away for the first college football game, which I don't know who it's going to be. I'd imagine it's probably going to be like some action or something crazy. Whoa.
Hey, you start talking college football, that whiskey comes out.
Gotta get some whiskey. But, we got a lot to talk about. We've missed y'all. It's been a week. Jay, how was your weekend before we really get going? I know Lloyd was in the beach. We're in the beach and at the beach.
We had a nice chill weekend over here. We
chill.
Low-key chill, not too much going on.
Low-key. That's good. I was here.
Calm
my
before
wife,
the storm,
That's what you got to do. Because, listen, in about 2 or 3 weeks, it's about to get pretty heavy. I'll be in Vegas. I'm trying to recruit you.
We'll see.
Come to Viva Las Vegas.
We'll see.
Got some things happening out there. We got some spaces.
We'll
Lloyd, call John Peterson.
Hey.
Lloyd's got a ride already, so like.
You got a ride out there?
No.
John.
Oh yeah, John. Call John. Listen.
We don't ride, we fly.
Don't worry about the hotels. You figure that. I'm not. I know you're not even worried about. If you just get there, you can figure it out.
Will sleep
exactly.
on a
I learned the
curb.
best.
We're men. We'll
Lloyd
figure it
will
out.
use a curb as a pillow before he lets that be his problem of not being there.
I like to see you in Vegas.
I would like to be there as well.
I don't know if he.
You think he can make it happen?
Not with that. Not with
Expensive.
that one shoe. He got to get 2 shoes.
No,
on
listen.
before he
Oh,
gets
yeah,
there.
There's ways to
handicap
do-
parking now.
There's ways to do Vegas without it being expensive. You get out there, you just, you're the king at like trying to finagle and get your way.
I could.
I think
I
that's one
could.
city
You know?
you got to bring the cash in, coach.
Yeah, but I think there's ways to look. It's college football weekend there. It's like it's gonna be a little different than normal Vegas.
Lay some action on the Tigers. You can double
Hey,
whatever you put down.
just keep doubling down on black. You never know.
Never know.
You never know what's gonna happen. My weekend was good. I didn't really do much. I got to hang out. My wife was in New Orleans for Saturday with my sisters at Red Dress Run. I've never participated in a Red Dress Run, but it looked fun. Had a couple golf rounds this weekend. Lloyd shot 82 again on Friday, then shot 92.
There you go.
On Saturday.
Good for the game.
I needed it. I needed that little like
Bounce back to where we're
damn,
not
what
too,
am I doing right now?
yeah.
But here's the deal: I played so bad the second day and still grind to get a 92. Where normally when I'm playing that bad, it's 102. So good weekend. Didn't do much, which I'm excited about. But we're back, and we're excited to be back, and I'm excited to talk football. LSU football obviously is right around the corner. They had more practices going on. Obviously, very small parts of those practices open to the media, but you're starting to get these press conferences, and you're starting to get some dialogue from the coaching staff not named Brian Kelly. Guys who are right there in the trenches, who are with these guys on the defensive side of the football and the offensive side of the football, day in, day out, seeing the progression of this team. And Blake Baker had a lot of things to say in the media, which me and Jared and Lloyd were talking off air about. We like that, right, Jared? You kind of like what you've been hearing Blake Baker say.
Yeah, I like what he does. He seems like he runs a program full of accountability and how he wants guys to understand, communicate, and be open about what they're doing. And to me, what I get out from what I've seen in the past, the way he communicates in the press right now lets me know that he's even that much more real to the players and blunt and about how he wants things and where they are and where he wants them to be. And he gives them a clear picture, if you will, about where they need to be to help this team out. He says they're a little inconsistent right now. If I had to guess, they're probably a little bit better than what he's telling it, right? But that also means that if he sees it that way, this team's got a ways to go. And I think if they're able to communicate the way it seems like he's trying to preach and where he wants to get this thing, this team and this defense really they're going to start shocking people. And I think you're going to start seeing something pretty early out them in the season and be like, oh, wait, we're not expecting this yet, and we're getting this. This could be something that this could be a player that we didn't know would be a player,
right?
In the sense of the big scheme of college football this year.
He talked about Harold Perkins. Obviously, he says that he likes his progression. He has a lot on his plate, but he's been playing really well. He singled out Ashton Stamps. Said he's worked hard. He had a tough day on Saturday, and what I like is Blake Baker's not holding back in a sense, right? Like, he's telling these guys, he's very honest with these guys, he's upfront with these guys, and he's being upfront with the media. But agreeing with you, I like the fact that he's coming out there and saying, hey, look, they've made some progression, and they've made some progress, and they've done well. They're not there yet, a little bit inconsistent. I like to see them play a little bit. They're playing hard, which is important. And to me, hearing those words from a coach, and this isn't me talking like, oh, I'm an LSU homer. This is me talking as an athlete. If I'm watching it and I'm listening to my coach talk about this, if you go listen to any of the good coaches, they're going to talk about, oh yeah, we're doing all right, but we're not there yet, or we got room to go, or we're going in the right direction, but we got to do these things better. And to me, that's saying, okay, we can't get complacent. We got to continue to push forward. And if he was going the other way and he was bragging and he was talking up the defense, to me, I wouldn't feel as confident as I do right now in the defense. Lloyd, how do you feel on that?
I don't want no poodles.
Which I thought was great.
Great.
And if you don't know, can you explain the poodle?
Poodle's a lot of hands up. We don't want a hands up guy that refuses to tackle. That's a poodle.
Right. So,
guy
like,
other players,
if you're playing D-back, if
poodle.
you're playing defensive back, and you miss an assignment or you get beat and the guy gets by you, and all of a sudden you're like, what the hell? And you're looking at other people and you're trying to put blame on someone else. Hey, it may not have been completely your fault. But there's no showing anybody up. That's a poodle in Blake Baker's mind. right? You may love poodles. We're not trying to insult. We're not
No,
trying
it's
to
more
get
of-
canceled here. We don't want to insult poodles.
I think it's more of the
All right.
personality of the poodle, not the
Exactly.
owner of the poodle.
Right? And so he's basically saying, hey, don't blame anybody else. Take responsibility for your actions, right? We need you to be kind of a bulldog, not a poodle. We need you to be a Rottweiler and say, hey, this is my situation. I'm going to figure it out. Now, he didn't obviously say those words as a Rottweiler. I'm just putting that.
Rockweiler or Rottweiler?
Rottweiler. What did I say? Rock?
Yeah,
Rottweiler.
either way.
Rottweiler. And he's not saying that, but I'm just kind of reading between the lines. And same thing, we don't want guys who want to shy away from contact. That's a poodle. So I kind of like the mentality that he's bringing in defensively. You can tell that he played football. You can tell he played the position. You can tell that he's a guy that understands kind of the ins and outs of it, and not from a long, played it relatively, not that long ago.
Yeah. So, and people don't talk about this. I don't think this narrative is going around as much as I think it should be going around. But he was a big part of, for the 2 seasons being there. I think it was 2 seasons, right? At Missouri, being there, because he was here in 21, correct? 2 seasons being there at Missouri, 22 and 23. He was a big part of making that defense a top 5 defense in the SEC the last 2 years. So you exit that guy from Missouri. That, in my mind, probably has to play a lot in how they're going to play this year, and we'll find out about that. But you exit that guy here, and you bring him to what was a bottom 2 defense in the SEC last year in LSU. So I got to imagine just by having him and him ingrained in the culture and him cultivating everything that goes on, that is going to breed a lot more success. And now, obviously, you've added Corey Raymond, you've added Bo Davis, you've added all these other coaches on that side who are going to do a really good job of upgrading what you get out of the talent that they have there. You cannot tell me that that's not going to be a much improved side of the ball this year. How improved? We'll see. I don't know that. I gave you my guess on that already, but
Top 30.
We'll see.
Let me ask you this though, and this is the danger of this happens in every sport when you have to play against each other, right? Baseball, if the offense is playing really well for the season, pitching sucks. Or if the offense isn't playing well and the pitching's good, hitting sucks. Same thing on the football, on football. On the defensive side of the football, seems like they're playing really well, doing some different things. You haven't really heard much on the offensive side of the football. Garrett Nussmeier comes out and says people are going to have to start putting respect on our defense. How are you taking that, Lloyd? Do you take that as hey, defense is playing really well, offense is trying to figure it out, or does that give you concern that their offense, okay, maybe they're not there yet?
No, I think it's a combination of things, one of which is you haven't been able to see really there's been 11 on 11 full pads once, and you saw the kind of what can happen when that run game gets going when you're LSU, and I think that's more of, I guess Nussmeier saying when we're going 7 on 7, and he's put up great numbers, but today was his first day that they struggled in that drill, and it was 11 on 11, no hitting, obviously thuds, but it was the first time, and it was only pass plays where the quarterback struggled. They went, I believe, 3 of 8 from what the media could see, and that was he's kind of had his pick of the litter.
He was 1 of 4.
Yeah, with the pick.
Yeah.
And so this was the first time he struggled in that setting without a pass rush, and that's the one thing that I think is interesting. Is they're getting better each time, each practice, because that's not what he was saying earlier on. Now it's okay, I can see it too.
Yeah. When I think about where they are right now and what they're doing, so this LSU offense, if you ask me, especially early on, right? You got a first-time legit starting quarterback to start a season, not to start a game. Obviously, he's had starts. He's had a start before. He's had one start, right?
One start.
He's had a start before, so it's not going to be his first start ever. But you have a first-time, in my mind, starting quarterback this year. But you also have one of the most experienced and probably the best offensive line in the country. Nameless faces, I feel like you can almost put in the backfield right now. You're going to watch this LSU offense be most effective early in the year, in my opinion, through establishing a run game.
I agree.
And really pushing and really moving the ball that way, and then they'll kind of start opening it up, if you ask me. So where they are in camp and what they're doing right now, like you said, if it hasn't been full practice, you haven't really gotten a chance to really see that offense do what they should, in my opinion, what they should be doing best right now.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, that's where I think they're going to struggle. We need to know what we got up front, right? And so now when we're starting to get into this game and these guys are kind of starting to get this, that's where I think this thing will start coming along. But I'm not surprised at all, and that's what we're seeing from the offense right now because, like we said, These are all new guys that have not played together. They're learning each other. They're learning each other at that speed. They're learning each other in these windows and where the ball needs to be and how it needs to fit and when it's coming out, what's the spin like. They're learning all that stuff on the fly right now, and they're doing it in camp against what seems to be very legitimate competition. So that only bodes well for you to be able to go into the season and play well, because the best situations in camp usually are offense has some wins, defense has some wins.
Yeah.
It's a tug of war, right? You just kind of go back and forth and we'll see what's going on. And I like where they're at right now.
Sticking on the defensive side, right? A big thing last year was the communication side of it, right? Not only did they, feel like they missed some tackles, and there was a lot of guys were running wide open in the secondary, and it just felt like they just were confused. Didn't really understand where they were supposed to be. Didn't understand their assignments. Didn't understand what their actual role was.
First and second down, they were
on
great.
defense. First and second down were great, and then all of a sudden things got a little complicated, and you got to cover crossing routes. You got to figure out you got to pass guys off or you not pass guys off, and all of a sudden guys are getting wide open. And LSU defensively is going into a different scheme now. Blake Baker admittedly has said this is more of a player-friendly scheme. A lot of word association helps them understand where they're supposed to be and allows them to play faster. He's even mentioned playing fast is a word that a lot of people use. Sometimes they don't really know what it means. He feels like they're almost playing too fast right now, right? Which is a good thing. It's easier to pull the reins back than say, hey, I need you to go and go faster, right? That tells me at least the guys right now defensively feel like they're confident in where they're supposed to be and what they're doing in that moment. Well, and sometimes you say, okay, you play fast, but also, hey, let's kind of see it.
For me, there's two sides of this, right? Like we kind of hit on with last week what I think playing fast means. And playing fast means, in my mind, is you are so sure, like legit sure, about what your alignment, your assignment, and your adjustments and all of that stuff is, that it comes like this. It's like a quarterback going through his progressions and being able to get off one and go to the next and go to the next. That, in my mind, is what playing fast is, because now if I can do that, the body follows and I just go. Right now, where I think they are is when he says they're playing too fast and we need to pull that back a little bit, is they're not necessarily too sure, but they're too fast in these progressions to where they're not allowing some things to actually progress before they're shooting into a spot. Well, guess what? I can pull the reins back and get you back into that. It's really hard for me to kick you into that, because if you're always too late and you're never there, you're either not athletic enough or you're just not good enough or you're not smart enough. And all of the combination of any of that, it's really hard for me to say you can play at this level, right? So I think back about it when I go back to it, when I got there as a freshman, I didn't play fast when they put me and say, hey, you go to the slot and you play this. I had to figure out, what are safeties doing? What is this linebacker doing? Where is the hot? What are the steps? I wasn't playing fast at that point. I was thinking.
Right.
I was thinking through the play. Ball's hiked. I'm thinking through where it's going, because I've never been in that spot before. As you get older, you start to see it quicker. You start to understand it quicker. You no longer are thinking. You understand the routes and steps and all of that. That, to me, is what's playing fast. It's not so much I'm playing with my hair on fire and I'm just running crazy. It's I'm processing this so quick that I'm able to go legit full speed doing the right things.
Right.
That, to me, is playing fast. And I think that's where he's trying to get this team to where they're processing what's going on in front of them, not just running around with their hair.
That's the big thing. That's what he says, too fast, right? Like, hey, sometimes it's beneficial for you to just, like, take a beat and say, okay, this is where I see, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Because that's what offenses are trying to do, right? You think you see something and all of a sudden it's doing something different. And, I like the fact that they are at that point right now, right? Because remember, you still got 3 weeks left until season starts. So, like, you still have time to figure this thing out and continue to get comfortable in the schemes and get comfortable in your roles. So I kind of like where they're at.
The fast they got now, to me, like, once again, it's that energy, that enthusiasm, which is, that's another thing that's hard to get if you don't already bring it, right? So if I'm bringing the energy to you and I get you to get there and you're playing fast with enthusiasm, that's great, because hopefully I can keep you in that mindset. So if you're in that mindset and now I get you to start thinking the game correctly, it's golden.
And
it's golden.
That energy comes from the top down. That's
Yes.
Blake Baker.
I mean, you watch the clips. You watch the clips from him. He's all over the place.
Intercepting balls on the sideline,
he's
running.
all
Like,
over the
that's
place.
great.
Dropped one today.
Yeah,
and then he knocked out 5 push-ups.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's bought in, and you can see it's not. it's not like a look at me show. It's like, this is the kind of energy I bring every day. This is what I expect, and the whole team is bought in on it. I don't think you'd see
attitude reflects leadership.
Yeah, I don't think you'd see.
You said that on Remember the Titans.
Matt House out there picking balls off and trying to run it back.
No, right.
Look at Lloyd over there just taking shots right now.
But you're seeing Blake Baker do it, right? And
I think
that's what you expected.
Coach.
That's what you expected when he got here. You needed to see that. You needed
shape.
to change energy. He looks like he still go out there and play. Like, you needed something like that for those guys to believe in, and they're doing that. Do they have like actual scrimmages?
Yeah, they'll probably have at least one or two.
But those won't be open to the media.
I mean, obviously they'll have the one in the stadium that'll be open to, I think, alumni players and stuff like that. There'll probably be some media there, and they'll probably have at least another one and or two that are a scripted amount of plays that they'll do at the practice facility, probably closed. You won't be able to see it. But, yeah, they're going to have some full go scrimmages where they because you need to. Like, you have to be able to tackle full, bring players to the ground, get guys used to doing that because – especially for the defensive side of the ball, dude, it's really tough for guys to understand how to play to the whistle in Tiger Stadium and or any other real stadium, real game if they've never played to the whistle before.
Right.
So, and understanding how to do that means I got to understand we got to be able to bring people all the way to the ground for me to understand now it's time to give off. Because if you never do that and all you all are is tagging off all the time, literally all the time, well, when it comes time for the game, these guys are so used to tagging off that when they see a guy maybe halfway down with a hand on the ground, they're already ingrained in tagging off instead of I need to wrap you up and bring you down. So they're gonna do it. I don't know how Brian runs and stuff, but they're definitely gonna do it.
They did it on Saturday.
There you go.
What?
On Saturday.
But they have more coming too, as well. Yeah, it's a thing.
They did on Saturday. They're doing this Saturday.
No, they did on this past Saturday.
Yeah, but like a full
They practiced for an hour and a half, and I think that was a good portion of the practice was them going 11 on 11 and full tackling.
Yeah.
You saw the Caleb Jackson Weeks interaction, and then I think the more impressive one was the counterplay when Caleb Jackson scored, and Jordan Gilbert made a business decision when he saw Caleb Jackson running through the hole, and it was one-on-one. Good cut.
Yeah, didn't want it.
Yeah.
Didn't want it. Good job, bud. I didn't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want
that shoulder for the year.
Yeah, I didn't want to go down. I didn't want to get you low. That was the only way I was going to be able to get you. So, like, hey, I don't want to hurt you.
You avoided me.
Yeah.
But when you talk about tagging off, Blake Baker talked about that on Saturday after the practice where he understands that where college football is now and football in general, like he said you get probably 4 opportunities to full go and full tackle.
Yeah.
It's like, so we're teaching it differently where it's not about just getting to the football, it's about putting them where you think the rest of the defense is going to be within the scheme so you can you can tag off and there's other people around you so you can tackle essentially like gang tackling, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
it's a different way to look at it, and you have to.
No, you have to, and I don't know if y'all remember the conversation. We talked about this last year with Tommy Moffitt in a sense of they're so used to the skill base. Today's football, they're so used to the skill-based type of practice and everything that these guys are so advanced skill-wise, but a lot of times the physicality maybe lacks a little bit because you don't do as much of that stuff. You're not so used to bringing guys to the ground. You're not so used to running through tackles because, well, you just haven't done as much of it, right? And so I think understanding that, him talking about it and saying like, hey, we need to be able to, if I can't be full physical and fully tackle and bring guys down, there needs to be a culture of 11 hats to the ball every single play, through the whistle, running it down. Just like when you see receivers and or offensive players catch passes and it's 60 yards, even though they're supposed to be back in the next play. It's that mentality of finishing it off in a really good defense. If we're talking about really good defenses year in and year out, bro,
that's what they do.
They gang tackle. It is a party at the football.
Well, and by doing that and teaching yourself like those habits, right? Hey, catching a screen pass in practice and getting past the first level, and getting past the cornerback and running 60 yards after the whistle's blown. Not only is that teaching you habits of always getting into the end zone, it's always going to get you in shape, right? Like you're gonna be exhausted, but you're gonna be in better shape by doing that and creating those habits and gang tackling and chasing the ball and making sure everybody's there. You're gonna always do that.
But you know what else it also brings to is I think people don't understand where these camp fights come from. But imagine it's August and it's hot as hell and you sweating your ass off and you got sweat dripping out of your cleats and all we are is in shells. And as an offense, I'm trying to get used to running through tackles and finishing plays.
Oh, yeah.
And as a defense, well, we need to get 11 hats to the ball and we need to stop the ball because if he keeps running, he feels like he won. We feel like we won if we got 5 people around you and you can no longer go forward. So you get to leaning and pulling and pushing on me too much. I'm trying to run. I need you to get off me. It turns into that. That's where it comes from. That's how it always goes.
And the whistle's blowing. You're trying to go there, and all of a sudden you get the DT give you a little shoulder check.
One little
and
too
you're like,
much,
whatever, and you get a shoulder check back, and it's like
Next play.
you don't want the fights, right? Look, it's part of the competition. You're hearing coaches now get up there and like, hey, listen, if you get in a fight in practice, you're ejected, which is what happens in the regular game. So you're no longer practicing. You don't want to see that, but you do want to see a little bit of edge. You want to get to the line and get away, right? Like that's the ultimate goal. But the fact that they are promoting that again is like, hey, it ain't a one-on-one type of thing. You can't do that. And as high octane as the offenses are now and how many plays they run, by doing that, you're going to be better equipped to be able to sustain that through the course of the game. You're going to be in better shape. You're not going to have to be chasing guys all over the field because their cutback lanes aren't going to be there anymore.
Yeah.
So you're going to, instead of having a 25-yard run, you're going to have a 5-yard run.
Yeah.
Or an 8-yard run. And that's a lot better than having to chase a guy 25 yards and hurry up, get back on line, and try to do it all over again.
Yeah, what I'm enjoying most about the reports that are coming out is literally just the revitalized energy. It's if I can get players to be bought into doing these things, that is how we turn into being a good defense in the first place. If I don't have that at all, if I can't get buy-in, then I can't get you to understand and really try to go after these concepts. And seemingly, that's where he has these players right now. They're bought in. And while they're buying in and they're doing these things, inherently with the talent that comes to this place, that comes in and out of Baton Rouge, that comes in and out of Tiger Stadium in purple and gold, you're going to have a good defense. How good, where the top end of it is, we don't know that yet. We will see. But that's when you know you're going to have a good team.
Agreed.
The energy is not just coming from Blake Baker. It's the Davis brothers on both sides of the football. And Kevin Peoples, I'll mention again, has also – every practice has started off by bringing the energy up for the defensive line and the defensive ends that he's working with. And obviously offensively, you have Sloan, who is still – I know he's the offensive coordinator, but he is primarily working with quarterbacks for the most of practice.
And let me tell you this, too. As far as for that defensive side of the ball, don't get me wrong. To be good, you have to kind of know you're good already. You have to kind of understand that you're good already. But I can go back to times when you and I played together. Like, you joined the 09 baseball team seeing what we did in 08. We, that was there in 08, knew what we had already. We knew we were good. You got into it, got bought in, and then started doing as well. And like, oh shit, yeah, I belong too, right? Those guys, once they start playing this year, it's fresh off of a year that was what it was last year. Game 1, game 2, if they start playing well, you wait until you see that thing really start ticking up. Then, because at that point, that's when they show up. We knew we were good. We thought we were pretty good, but now we just proved it. And now we know that there's just more levels that we can go to. So that I'm interested to see just what the top end of this defense will be this year, because I do believe it's going to be a lot better. Agreed.
AP poll came out today. LSU's ranked 13th. What do y'all think about that? You like that spot?
I think it's the perfect spot for them, right?
I agree.
I think that's I truly think that that's where you're going to be looking at this team somewhere when it comes down to it at the end of this thing. When you get through that 12-game schedule, I think you're going to be looking at them somewhere in that 10 to 12 to 10. I say 10 to 12. 10 to 15 range, and they're going to be either one of the last in or maybe one of the first out if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm. Top 5: Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama.
Any surprises for you there?
No, I don't think it. I think that all 5 of those teams. I think Georgia obviously is the consensus number 1. I don't think that's a bad spot. Ohio State, they have maybe the best. They maybe have the best transfer portal class.
Off-season.
What?
Like the off-season?
Oh, yeah. Like the guys they brought in, transferred in. Oregon, a lot of hype, right? Oregon, maybe the second best off-season of anybody behind Ohio State. Texas coming in with a big hype. Obviously, you have almost everybody come back. You lose some receivers. You have Quinn Ewers coming back. You have Arch as the backup guy.
Yeah, but there you go. Because for me, that's what I look at. When you talk about Oregon having a huge offseason, part of that was the acquisition of the new quarterback, which, if you ask me, anybody having a quarterback having to figure out a system, there is a little bit of a grace period. So I'm a little surprised that Texas probably isn't above Oregon.
Right.
But I don't think Oregon would be outside of that top 5.
Yeah, Alabama, I think they deserve to be there. They bring in a bunch. They lost a couple guys. They bring back a lot. I think everybody thought it was going to be a mass exodus. It wasn't. Kalen DeBoer was in the national championship game last year. So, to think that they're going to have this massive fall off, I think is an ignorant take.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're super talented. They haven't lost all their players. They lost some guys. But they haven't lost all of them, so I like that. Ole Miss is at 6. I think that's a good spot for them. They have everybody back.
And more.
It feels like. And more, right? You have Jackson Dart. You have Trey Harris is back. You have all these guys around in a system and a scheme that they've grown accustomed to. Notre Dame at 7 is a curious one for me.
As it should be.
Right? I don't understand that one. I get everybody's very high on the staff and the guys they brought in, but you're replacing some. Did they do enough last year and bring back enough for you to think that they're 7th? And this is preseason rankings; it doesn't really matter. I know that, but
it does in a sense because you're able
for
to,
Notre Dame it matters.
Yes,
for sure. Do you think they're overranked?
I always do, but that just might be a certain bias because they always seem to be high up especially in the preseason polls, and then they drop a game that you didn't expect, and they drop another, and they're always probably looking at 8, 9, 10 wins. But it also depends on who they play with. They've done a good job recently of scheduling a good independent schedule. I'm trying to look at it right now.
No, they got A&M.
No, I got it pulled up, and that's why I was about to touch on it a little bit because I think so. You realize with the new format, they could never finish in the top 4 because they're not in a conference, right? So we do know that. So 5 is as high as they can. They can be 12-0, and 5 is as high as they can go. So them being with the seasons that they've had, knowing what they have there, I think that's a good spot for them only because if you look at the schedule, they got A&M first, Northern Illinois, Purdue, Miami of Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy, Florida State, and Virginia.
So they really only got 2. You look at that schedule, you're like, damn, really
Florida State, Virginia, Army West Point, and USC. So especially once you get into November, we don't know for sure that Florida State will be there.
Right.
Maybe they will be.
Yeah.
Good chance they'll be there.
Right.
We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure that USC will be there.
Right.
Maybe they will be. Maybe they won't. My point is if they went through this whole schedule unscathed and they're ranked at best 15 to start, do we really believe that they'll get into that all the way up to that 5th spot because you don't know who they played?
Right.
So I think it's a fair spot for them simply because if they can't do it, they'll fall out, but they definitely can't be one of the top 4. So they probably got to be somewhere in there where it's a great spot for them to stay if they put together that kind of season.
I agree. I mean, I think that their schedule, I didn't know their schedule. Usually their schedule is a little tougher. This schedule this year is a little light. Obviously, they're going on the road playing A&M first game of the season. That's going to be a major test for them. I think they lost their left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
He was hurt for the year.
He's out for the year.
I think he was supposed to be a first rounder.
Oh, by the way, Texas lost one of their running backs too, or the running back, C.J. Baxter.
Yeah.
Knee injury.
Out for the
year.
Out for the year.
Damn, that's tough.
Yep.
But 7, I guess you're right. It's a good spot for them. I just don't know what they showed you and what they have returning to put them there that early. But we'll see. Obviously, they're going to be in a situation where they could potentially have a really good record because of the schedule they have, and so we'll see what happens.
I know this is far out because all of these schools they all schedule everything years in advance, but I want to see if moving forward, if these teams and these schools are going to start scheduling lighter, simply trying to chase that 10-win benchmark. Because that 10-win benchmark basically puts you in the spot where you have a strong case that you should be in the 12. And it doesn't make much sense if I have to go through a conference schedule to go ahead and put all these extra hard games in front of me that's going to potentially pull me away from those 10 wins. So I want to see, if going forward, if you're going to stop seeing some of these, super early marquee games the way they've been, because if I'm trying to put together a schedule, what's the point of doing that?
Yeah, and a lot of these games have already been scheduled for the future.
Right now. That's what I'm saying. I know. They do these years in advance, but I want to see going forward.
You're seeing Lincoln Riley already pulling out. He tried to pull out the LSU game. It was too late, but he's already pulled out of the game next year, as did Georgia. They both pulled out of their first, I believe the first game of the season against out-of-conference opponents that are highly touted.
Right.
And so you're starting to see it already because what's the point? if you lose an out-of-conference game and your conference schedule is so tough, you're really setting yourself
Yeah.
behind the 8 ball a little bit.
Yeah.
Penn State's at 8. They'll probably go. They'll go 10-2. They'll lose to Michigan. Lose
I don't
to Ohio
know,
State.
Coach. You enter Oregon this year, and I don't know if they're on.
Oh
the
yeah.
schedule.
Well, I don't know.
But
I
I don't know who's on the
schedule is.
schedule. But you brought some other guys in there. I think they have a decently light schedule. I don't think it's that crazy this year.
They have USC. They play at USC.
I've got it right here.
I think Penn State's what Penn State always is.
Yeah, it's hard to think anything other than that.
Who do
but
they
that
have?
could also get them in a playoff this year.
Who do they have?
For sure.
They started the year off at West Virginia. Then they go to
Tougher than you
Then they
think.
have Bowling Green coming there, Kent State coming there, Illinois coming there, UCLA coming there, and then they're at USC, at Wisconsin, Ohio State at home.
That's
and
a
then
tough 3 games.
Washington at
That's
home.
a tough 3 games.
So that's a tough 4 games.
But that's
3 road
fairly,
games.
But that's a fairly light schedule for what that conference is now. So
Yeah.
that's a favorable schedule.
So they got to go to LA,
They don't have Michigan this year.
right? And they got to go to Washington.
No, to Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Back to back.
Yeah.
But then they got a home game. And then they got to go to Washington.
Yeah, then they have Ohio State and Washington both at home.
Oh, both at home. Okay, I thought you said they go at Washington. Okay, I was gonna say that's a lot of travel.
Right.
That's far travel going from
The
Penn
thing is
State.
they're
to-
used to having Ohio State and
Right.
Michigan on the schedule every
Right.
year. That has been historically over the past 10-ish years or so. It's pretty much been 2 losses for them.
Yeah.
So now you take that away. I could see them sneaking in
Yeah,
to that
I can
to,
see
the,
it
to that
too.
back end of it.
That brings us to Michigan. I think they're overranked
I do too.
at 9. I mean, you lose the coach. You have all this drama happening in the offseason.
Yeah.
Right. You have new quarterback. You lose a lot of
Quarterback
talent.
battle with 7th-year player Jack Tuttle.
Jack, 7 years. I mean, if you can't do it at this point,
Never had an opportunity.
you know, and you waited your turn. 7 years, a long time.
It's a lot of people who go to school for
You
7
know,
years.
he's gonna be.
Yeah,
they
they
call him
usually don't get
doctors.
to put on a uniform and play
put
football.
on a coat.
So, you know, there's too many question marks for them to be ranked in the top 10. I know that they're the defending national champs. I think that's where the ranking
Yeah.
comes from.
Yeah.
It's hard to put the defending national champs outside the top 10. I think 9's probably the best place for them right now. I would not be shocked if you saw them go 8-4, 7-5 this year. Coming in at number 10.
Because they played Texas week 2,
Yeah.
USC week 4, and then Oregon
They
and
gotta have
Ohio
a-
State.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
That's four really tough games with, you know, a battle at quarter. Like, anytime there's a quarterback battle, that's hard.
That looks like that could easily be 4 losses.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have an identity
Yeah.
and you lost your head coach who was your identity,
Yeah.
and they're
Well-
also in trouble.
You just have a lot of like outside noise, just a lot of chatter always being talked about. There's going to be some media personalities always asking these questions at some point throughout the course of the year. It's going to come up, and
It's always great to
distraction.
have a really good quarterback room. It is really tough to have a quarterback battle.
Yeah,
like a
right.
legit quarterback battle, because there are so many questions that comes up in the media, in the fans, wherever it is. If there's 1 or 2 plays that makes you lose a game, that question comes up: is he the guy?
Yeah.
Should it be the other guy? And you only get so many opportunities to go out there and do it during the course of a football season. So it becomes really hard when you have a quarterback battle, as opposed to just having a really good quarterback room.
Yeah, agreed. Florida State comes in, rounds out the top 10 at number 10.
Yeah.
I think that's a little high for them as well. I think you're right. You talked about this pre-show. You think that ranking is based off of their coach alone?
Yeah,
Mike
I mean,
Norvell.
their resume, what they've done over the past 2 years, has been good, right? They've played well, but I do think I think people are, which is crazy to see, because 2 years ago it was everything. He was literally on the hot seat and on the chopping block to see you later, and I think people are now bought in on Mike Norvell and what he can do and how he can develop talent and how he is as a coach. And I think people are saying, like, hey, as long as he's got it there, he's got some players in, we'll believe. They were able to get DJ to come back from after he goes from Clemson to, what was it, University of Oregon State, and now he's back for, I think, maybe his 5th year, I believe, at quarterback now. So that's somebody that's played a lot of football, that's going to be the leader of that team. They're
and
right in that
that's
area.
got to be
They're right in that
that's
area.
got to help, right?
And you have that
ACC
ACC schedule, which isn't the schedule.
Well,
that's right in there.
That's what I'm about to. So they are one of the teams that play in 12 days. So they play. Florida State plays Georgia
Norvell
Tech
loves a good week
in
zero.
Dublin.
He loves a good week zero.
But this is a more difficult week zero for him. This is in Dublin against Georgia Tech, right? Anytime you play in those, crazy travel type of
How did they
games,
get that thing to be in Dublin against Georgia Tech and not against Notre Dame?
Didn't Notre Dame?
Notre Dame played last year.
I know, but it's still going back and it's
I don't know. But I'm not saying they're gonna lose that game, but that's anytime you do something like that, that's a question mark, right? You just don't really know, especially when you have they lost their running back, they lost their receiver in the NFL, their quarterback's gone, they lose Jared Verse. I think they lose another defensive tackle. They had a lot of impact players gone. I'm not saying they don't
lost
have
the
them
running
there.
back,
right? They don't. I'm not saying they don't have them. They haven't been proven yet, and someone else is gonna have to step up. So 10, they bring in the quarterback. I think that's based off of the quarterback.
It's been a long time since Florida State has been the reloaded university as opposed to the rebuilding university. We're going to get a chance to see if they are back in that conversation.
They got Notre Dame on the schedule. They got North Carolina on the schedule. They have Duke on the schedule. Obviously, Miami is on their schedule. Clemson's on their schedule. Nothing damn, this is super hard, but also, okay, these teams could potentially upset me, right? Duke has played good football over the last few years. North Carolina has
they
played,
lost the head coach this year. You don't know what that program is going to be.
Right. So
North Carolina's been sneaky.
Right. Very sneaky.
Mac
Brown's been still
Mac
doing
Brown's
it,
had it seems like Mac Brown, North Carolina, whenever they're not supposed to do well, do really well. When they're supposed to do really well, they're average.
He's got the resume, dude. He's one of the only 3 active. Is it 3 or is it 4 still now? From last year.
To have national
championship.
So
coaches.
Mac Brown. Well, now Nick's out.
Nick's out. Jimbo's out.
Jimbo's out, and Jim Harbaugh's out.
Jim's out.
So you got Dabo,
Mac.
You have Mac.
Smart.
Kirby Smart.
I think it's 3.
That's
I think it's 3
right?
right now. Yeah.
3.
I think it's
3
3
active coaches with national. That's crazy.
Think of how many Division I football teams you got. You got 3 that got a championship right now.
That's crazy. This one's an SEC team. Missouri comes in at 11.
Yeah, I spoke about it earlier, man. I don't know a ton about their roster, but I would be willing to bet that the majority of the people can't name too many people outside of Cook and Burton on that team. Now you lose Blake Baker.
Yeah, right.
You lose Blake Baker, who has been a huge part of that defense being a top 5 defense in the SEC the past 2 years. How good are they really? I understand how good those 2 guys are and the chemistry that they have and the way that they've worked, but are they going to be able to lose that guy and kind of reload the mindset of that defense and kind of do what they're doing? I am super interested to see what that team does and kind of see where that team goes this year.
They kind of have a light schedule early on. Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, and then they got A&M on the road. No, A&M on the road. Then they got UMass, and they have Auburn at home, and then they're on the road at Alabama, at home against Oklahoma, on the road against South Carolina, at home against Mississippi State, on the road against Arkansas. So out of all of the SEC teams, it feels like they don't have – their schedule is pretty favorable.
It is.
Right? But there is some question marks. My biggest question mark for Missouri is it's easy to come back and shock people and surprise people on the field. When people don't think that you're that good, you're solid, and you can look at a team and
you haven't arrived.
Right. And the coach speak is, never take anyone lightly, respect your opponents, all this kind of stuff. And you go out there and it's easy to hear it. It's harder to execute that. And so it's easier for them to come out there, kind of sort of shock you, and then build this momentum. And now you've kind of built something to where it's hard for you to lose that. Now you're ranked in the 11th to start the season. Your starting quarterback's back, your best receiver's back, and you're now not being overlooked. You're being looked at as, hey, we really gotta strap them up and come at this team. That's a whole different mentality. I'm anxious to see kind of how they respond to that. 11, I think, is a good spot based off what they did last year and who they have coming back.
And just to build on that mentality side of it, we know about this thing, being as players, you start the year, and whether people want to admit it or not, as players, you know what teams are, where teams are, what they've been, and it doesn't matter if they get to your game still at that spot, you were looked at as this. So we're going to take you as this. Everyone's kind of shooing them kind of into maybe somewhat of that back end of the college playoff picture and think that they're there. Every team that they play, they're going to think that way. This is a team that's supposed to be in the college football playoffs. Let me show you why they're not that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, they're having a good year. Maybe they're hot right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to approach that a little different. You're going to go into Tuesday's practice, Wednesday's practice as, yeah, we got Missouri this week. Yeah, they're supposed to be it. All right, let's show it. So it comes a little different, like you said. When that target's a little bit more on your back, then you are the one that's kind of sneaking up on people. People approach you differently.
Yep, no doubt. 12's Utah. Don't really know much about Utah. I know they have their quarterback coming back. He's been there for a really long time. Kyle Whittingham's been forever.
And they've always
They're
played
always
good
solid.
They always play good
exactly.
defense.
They're going to play really good defense. And then LSU's at 13, right? I think that, LSU is going to play USC, who's ranked 23rd. First game of the season in Vegas. They lose their quarterback. They have a whole kind of, like Lloyd said, they're very similar situation LSU is in. Miller Moss goes out there and balls out in the bowl game, throws for 372 and 6 touchdowns against, who was it, Louisville. And so you have him kind of riding that momentum in an offense that, they're going to be able to put up points based off of who's calling plays and the history of behind that. What their defense looks like, I don't know. So it's going to be a tough test for LSU first game of the season, which, should be entertaining.
Well, their defense has to be better because of
same
boat that LSU is. Right. They brought in D'Anton Lynn, and they finally get rid of the Alex Grinch hire, which was essentially his best friend that he brought over from Oklahoma, and he wasn't good there either. And so that experiment essentially comes to an end, and now you have a quote-unquote real defensive coordinator. So they probably feel the same way that LSU fans feel after last year. It's like, well, it's going to be better because it can't be worse.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure all of the reports coming out of USC defense is flying around. They put on a ton of weight on the defensive line in the offseason. They added some transfers. Like, I could see where they're probably just as excited as LSU fans, or very optimistic, I should say.
No doubt. I'm looking. We're not going to go through the all top 25, obviously.
To get there.
I just want to get to LSU. But my next question is there a team that's in the back half of the top 25 or in the SEC that you could see making a run, right? And, popping up and, damn, this team's going to be good. Or maybe is going to end up being better. To me,
is there a team in the back half of the SEC?
Of the top 25, right? Okay. Or in the SEC that's not ranked. In my mind, and I know a lot of people are going to hate this, and I'm not saying it because he's now the strength coach there, but I can see A&M, right, getting off to a hot start. They have to play Notre Dame beginning of the season. Riley Leonard is now the quarterback at Notre Dame from Duke. Elko, who is the head coach at A&M, was the head coach at Duke when Riley Leonard was the quarterback. He is now the head coach at A&M. Riley Leonard is now the quarterback at Notre Dame. Notre Dame goes to A&M first game of the season. It feels like Mike Elko kind of would understand better than most on how to defend Riley Leonard, on kind of what his strengths and what his weaknesses are, how to defend him. He's a defensive guy, Elko is. I could see if A&M kind of takes that game and upsets Notre Dame first game of the season, you can kind of feel this momentum, right? I'm not saying they're going to go and win the national championship, but if they win that first game, which I think is possible, they're going to put themselves in a position to kind of make a little bit of a run.
So the one I would go with, I won't say they're in the back half. They're definitely not looked at as one of the favorites, but people are raving about the quarterback play that they have there. And we've seen recent success coming from this program, and they're kind of back on that up and up and where we used to see them, especially in the late 90s. I got Tennessee, man. Tennessee's they're a dark horse right here in this one, man. I don't know what was in his throat just now, but but they're a dark horse right here, man. I think they got a big three, dude. They got a big three. They got Oklahoma.
Lloyd wasn't paying attention in class and he heard his name.
They got Oklahoma. They got to play. They got Georgia. They got to play, and they got Alabama. They got to play. If they can find a way to get 2 out of those 3, and maybe because of if they don't slip up anywhere, if they only get one of those 3 somewhere, they're right there in the conversation of it. I think that's one that you got to watch.
Well, you talk about them, right? And right, you know the offense, right? Like you know that, they have had an explosive offense. Now Milton was less than stellar.
Raving about him in Patriots camp.
Of course, he's the best preseason football player in the world, dude,
and best bowl game player.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Listen, I'm gonna run around, I'm gonna scramble around, I'm gonna mesmerize you with my arm strength and my athleticism. But in the game, it's just not gonna look as good as you expect it to be. But my point in saying this is they're known for the offense. The number one player ranked in the SEC as far as talent goes preseason is their edge rusher, James Pierce. So that's going to put them in a situation where, hey, listen, if the offense is kind of not really clicking early, you're going to have a guy who could be a game changer on the defensive side of the football. And to me, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And it feels like they have their quarterback, somebody that they invested a ton in early on with Nico, and now it's
invested legitimately.
Stay tuned.
Money.
We'll get a good pronunciation of his name later. We're not gonna try to butcher it right now, but
you know it. Can you?
Oh, I can spell it. I can't say it right now. But anyway, Nico is supposedly like a dude.
Neek.
They can't stop talking about him right now.
Yeah.
right.
So
and Heupel's offense, when he has a quarterback, at least
Right.
from what we've seen, it really starts to click a little bit. And if he has that quarterback, which it feels like they do, that's why I do think there'll be a little bit of keep watching them. But they do have big games on the schedule. September 21st is their first one at Oklahoma. Then you go to November 19th. Alabama comes to Tennessee, and the last time those two played, it was one of the best
October
games
19th.
of the year.
October 19th.
10 is November.
10 is October.
10 is October. 11 is November.
That's
12 is
right.
December.
There you go. You only got 12 months in a year.
Good.
Leap
got
year.
that.
What about a leap year?
Only 12
Still
years.
only
Only
12?
12 months. Leap year is just an extra day.
And then November 16th, they go at Georgia.
Boom,
so those
there you
are
go.
3 games that
Those are the 3 that'll make or break their schedule, in my opinion, unless they slip up somewhere and do some goofy shit. But that's a team to watch, if you ask me.
So I'm looking at this top 10.
And one more if I have a pick. I
Of
would
course
go-
you do. I thought he took your pick. But
No,
yes.
but I have another.
Ooh, look
Kansas,
at him.
Kansas
One with the
State.
replacement in the holster.
Yeah, Kansas State is somebody I have my eye on. I watched them in the bowl
look at
game.
Why is
Lloyd.
that? Can you give me a
Their quarterback.
what's his name?
That's on the back of the jersey? Or
That was the guy who's with long hair running.
Avery Johnson. I didn't want to say that because
I didn't know if was on the back of the jersey or if it was the
He was running all over the place, right?
Yeah, he's a stud. He was at least fun to watch. And
Yeah.
he made the quarterback that transferred to Ohio State leave because this guy's the future. And from what
Will
I
Howard.
saw, yes. So,
And now Will Howard's getting all this pre-draft,
Of course.
this guy could be a first-round draft pick in the NFL.
sometimes you just can't quit a guy, and that's what it seems like is happening with Will Howard. Where I don't know what Ohio State was thinking if he got beat up by a freshman, but their schedule is very light, except for one. You'll know early. Tulane, second week of the year, and then they play 2 ranked teams outside of that. They have Arizona, who has an elite offense. Oklahoma State, good offense. Kansas, we'll see. And then that's about it for who they play. So
Kansas
That
State's always
quarterback-
got. They've had some
Hey,
crazy games lately.
That quarterback's healthy this year. The guy that got hurt, I think, is Jayden Johnson.
Daniels.
Oh,
Jaylen, that's
Daniels.
right, Jayden Daniels.
If he's healthy, hey, they're
Yeah,
sneaky.
for sure.
They're sneaky.
I'm looking at this top 10, right, of these players, and most schools have one guy on it. Texas has 2. Georgia's got 4. Georgia's got
team's loaded, man.
not 3. Georgia's got Malachi Starks. He's a defensive back at number 4. Carson Beck at 6, and then they got Mikael Williams, who's an edge guy, at number 10. So 3 of the top 10, 30%, coming from one school. 2 of the defensive side. Defense just keeps getting better and better for them. I'm not going to give Georgia a ton of flowers because everybody kind of expects them to be really good. They have everybody coming back. They seem like they have taken that role of Alabama, where they just continue to reload on the defensive side of the football. You have a quarterback play, and you have another one right behind him that's going to be waiting in the wings, which they have right now, right? Don't they have the number 1 quarterback in the country sitting behind
Carson Beck.
Beck?
He was that guy behind.
No, but they have another guy, I believe, behind Carson Beck.
He's the one that left. He was committed, but he left to go to Nebraska. The brother.
Oh, Raiola.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But it's funny, like you're sitting there and you're watching those 4 players. One of their I would imagine this year a guy for them that could be probably one of their more impactful players and is super explosive is they got Etienne's little brother that transferred over from Florida.
Yeah.
So he's going to be in the backfield as well. Like, they are loaded this year.
Loaded.
And they have, Oscar Delp, who's basically the younger.
Oh, the tight end?
The rebirth of Brock Bauer there.
They talked about like top tight ends in the country. They have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Georgia's got 2 of the top 10 tight ends in the country, which is on par for what they normally do. So, all of that's to say, it's going to be a very fun and entertaining college football season.
And it's right around the corner.
My last question before we get to the Olympic conversation a little bit is, out of all the quarterbacks, because I think the quarterback play in the SEC now more than ever is as good as it's ever been, right? You have Milroe back at Alabama. You have Quinn Ewers at Texas. You have Carson Beck at Georgia. You have Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. You have Cook at Missouri. You have, obviously, Nuss is here. Nuss, out of all those guys, is probably the least proven, but super talented. Who do you think is going to have the best year out of any of those quarterbacks?
Do I think's going to have the best year?
This is a non-bias. Obviously, Lloyd don't Nuss unless you really believe Nuss is going to have the best.
Well, there's 2 to me that if they take another step up and they go forward and they really – one of them had command of the offense because the offense ran through him pretty much last year because of his style of play. The other one, I think that if he becomes the playmaker, if you will, on offense by being a good point guard, I think this team will go to a completely different spot. But I look at Milroe and I look at Dart and to think, man, if those 2 dudes really take another step forward with what they have around them and the coaching staff and all those things they have in place, those 2 teams will be a bitch to try to beat. Those are the 2 that I'm like, if they step forward, they're going to make it really hard. And don't get me wrong, they're already going to be really good teams. So, but they're going to make it really hard for you to beat them if those guys continue to go forward.
I think Milroe, based off of how he progressed last year and what he did, just how he kind of handled himself in that situation, and then having DeBoer come down from Washington to Alabama after basically having a quarterback that had a big arm, that was physical, could run. I think it's going to bode well for Milroe's game.
The reason why I put them 2 in the same boat is because one's in a new offense, one's in the same offense.
Right.
One to me has way more physical talent. The other one to me is a very good player with physical talent, but he's also a leader of men, and he's been proven to be one of the cogs of that team. Now it's like, can he up his actual game to another level in an offense that he knows, with a coach that he loves, and things that he's already done around a better team that they've put around him? I'm like, if he takes off to another level, that Ole Miss team could be one of the best that they've seen there in a long time. But Milroe isn't, like I said, when you watch him do what he does physically, you're like, good God. My only thing is, just like last year, it was his first year starting, right? And kind of a new-ish kind of system. Took him a while to get going. Boom, revamp it. It's another new system. How quickly can he get on board? And remember, they lost one of their best receivers. Isaiah Bond's gone. He's at Texas now, right? Yeah. So you also don't have that anymore. So now it's like, all right, where does that?
And they didn't have a lot of success at the receiver position last year. Isaiah Bond was their best guy.
That's why I bring it up. So I'm like, that's why to me it's like, if they take that next step, good luck beating those 2 teams.
Lloyd, what do you think?
I'm interested to see what kind of offense they run with Jalen Milroe. If it's going to be the same thing that they did at Washington with Penix, where he could run but rarely did, or if it's, I'm going to cater to what Jalen Milroe does best, which is kind of what they did last year.
Right.
Those are the 2 questions I have, because they did lose weapons, but I don't doubt an Alabama roster has talent stacked that we just haven't heard of yet or haven't seen play. But if those are off the board, Brady Cook is an interesting answer just because of what they did in the offense, and I think Eli Drinkwitz kind of mans that thing.
Yeah.
So if you bring back a Luther Burton, they were able to run the ball really well last year. I think he's somebody that could, like you said, another guy that's in the system for the third time, like a returning quarterback, returning starter.
As a starter,
I think that makes a huge difference when you see that kind of leap. And in that same vein, a lot of pressure, but he adds a weapon in Isaiah Bond and Quinn Ewers. which I think a lot of pressure is
Which
on him.
he needed to because he lost some weapons in the NFL.
Right.
I think 2 receivers last year, right?
A.D. Mitchell, gone.
A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy gone.
Gone.
Yeah. So you had to have
First
a go-to
rounder and
guy.
a second rounder, I believe.
Yeah.
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 So that's why I'm interested to see what Texas does, because there's going to be, we have all said, like big pressure early and big spotlight for Texas. And if Quinn Ewers can man that ship, I think he'll have. I mean, he threw for like 3,300 yards last year, 3,400 yards, but that's with the playoff games.
Cut his hair.
Yeah, mistake.
A little bit more of a, hey, I'm going to be clean cut. I'm going to be that guy now. We'll see. I like Jackson Dart because of the experience and the talent.
And the offense. But I can also see, and I don't want this to happen, but the way he moves and his stature, I can see him potentially not being able to be there the whole season. He
is reckless. He does play reckless.
You know what I mean?
And you no longer. I'm not saying they don't have anything, but you no longer have Judkins back there either. So
right.
You got to figure that part of it out too.
So I'm not saying I don't want him to do. I want the best players to play and watch it. I think it's better for the game of football. But he does. He runs around. Kind of like Johnny Manziel, where he's running around, he's making guys miss, he can create things. But when you do that, you leave yourself exposed to some big hits and potential injury. But it's going to be fun. The offenses in the SEC are going to be legit.
And we did have one question before we move into the Olympic talk.
I want to get to NFL talk too.
And the NFL.
Yeah.
But it was just something that carried the chat for a second. From DA. So where's your head going to be if BK drops game 1 for the 3rd time? I really don't know what to
actually,
think.
I had this conversation. So BK, if he loses it, obviously 3 games in a row. LSU hasn't won the first game of the season since 19, right?
Right. Yeah, they've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, that's not good.
Right.
So 2020, right? 2021, 22, 23.
That would be 4.
That's 4 games in a row. So if he loses, it'd be first game of the season.
Where LSU was known for dominating these, out of conference first game of the year, spotlight.
Now 2020 wasn't.
Yeah, but they were also not against.
They were
also against bigger name brand teams, but they were not necessarily the competition on the field as the brand was, if you will.
I think the Oregon game, obviously, everybody
That's
thinks
different.
of first.
Yeah, that was 11, right?
Yeah, that was 11 to kick off the year. It's like, oh shit, LSU might be a real power player here. And then it was Wisconsin and TCU a couple of times, and now it's been UCLA and Florida State.
Right.
Yeah, it's.
But I do wonder the temperature. I know he's not going to get fired, but I do wonder.
No, but there's going
like
to
this,
be. There, I mean, obviously, it's a pressure-packed game for him too. You've got to go out there at some point and have the guys ready to go early. I know there's a lot of question marks. And I know there's a lot of changes on the defensive side of the football with coaching staff, but you have a lot of talent, and you're facing a team that has just as many question marks as you. So you got to go out there and at some point take care of business.
So for me, what I think about him right now, I truly think outside of BK losing the entire team, he's not getting fired this year. They could probably win 8 games, and he's not getting fired this year, right? But with that being said, if you lose game 1 again because of the state of the conference, because of the talent in the conference, because of what some of these other team schedules are, you're at jeopardy of not getting to that 10-game threshold again, which I think if you don't get there in that 12-game spot, it's going to be hard for you to get into the playoff. And I think this is another team that's staring down the opportunity of winning 10-plus games. The trick is getting to that 10 before you get to the extra games this year. And I think that is where the goal is, because if you can get in, you give yourself a chance. And I think that's what this team's goal should be. Obviously, you want to win it all, but I think a step up from 10 wins, another step up from another 10-win season would be to do it in that first scheduled 12 games.
Yeah.
So I think if you lose that first one, you're at real jeoprity of not being able to get to that spot. Because it's going to be hard to almost run the table the rest of the way.
I will say this. I was in New Orleans in Florida, the first Florida State game. Not great, right? It's sucked.
Almost
sucked the energy out. It was almost awesome.
Yeah, we wanted to.
We stayed.
We were trying to party that night.
Everybody, we were sitting there. Everybody was leaving, and me and Jerry were like, "No, we're staying." And all of a sudden, it ended up being a game, right? And boy, that was a tough walk back to the hotel.
Oh yeah.
I didn't go to Orlando last year, thank God. Right?
Not a
that would have been tough.
Back.
I am going to Las Vegas. Okay.
You can't walk back from that one though.
Actually, I'm right across the street.
I'm in here.
Oh, no.
Just there.
Oh, I would love to. If LSU loses in Vegas,
You'll walk back.
gonna
I'm going to
back?
want to walk back to Louisiana. Like,
Yeah.
Put some
they
money on it.
can't, please. Like, I'm doing this. I'm looking forward to this. I know everybody is, and it's not about me.
It is a little.
It's not about me.
It's that you represent the fan
But, like,
base
I
in this
want
regard.
to
Yeah.
go out there. I mean, there is not a better spot for us to go out and celebrate than Las Vegas,
Be bad for the brand.
right? Like, I need that to happen. Las Vegas needs that to happen. They don't really need our money, but they want our money. You know what I mean? Like,
It would
I'm
be-
interested.
It could be, and this is from like the national perspective. What do you think they're going to say if LSU drops another opener like this, where it's going to be this was a pretender versus contender, LSU again
Well,
in the big spot with Brian Kelly in year 3,
let me
which
ask
was
you this.
circled by him.
What is the?
Good point.
It is a great point.
Does that narrative start again?
It
Absolutely,
100% will. 100%.
You brought in Blake Baker and you gave up 40.
And that was my question, right? If they do lose, what is the reason they lose? Is it because the defense gave up a bunch of points and the offense couldn't keep up?
Which one
like
did
scored?
you be more palatable with?
Well, no, not even palatable. I think what side of the football needs to play better in order for you to win?
Needs to play better in order for you to win.
Right.
I mean, you got to be able to score.
See, I think you got to be able to. I think you
gotta
got to be able to score. But if you have to have
which one do you want to hear? Same old story. LSU defense can't get it right.
I always
First
like
off,
the defense to play really well. I think the offense can do enough.
Well, here's the thing. You're also not putting this thing in a vacuum right now. If we look back
Right.
on it last year, not even last year, look back on Lincoln Riley. What does he do? Develop quarterback play and have really explosive offenses.
Right.
So if we're going to sit here and say that the defense has to go out there and not be shut down, but has to be the winning factor, if you will, I think that's unrealistic, man. They're going to score.
Yeah.
That's what Lincoln does.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go out and outscore this team. I'm not saying that that's the recipe for the entire 12-game schedule, but for this game, you got to go out there and outscore them. I'm wondering if, and I just thought about this because it goes back to a little bit of our conversation earlier, I'm wondering if because of what we saw the last 2 years and the competition that they've played in game one and how it just didn't seem like they were up to speed, if you will, from the kickoff to the end of the game, I'm wondering if the way he's going about the practice schedule once they get to game prep and or, honestly, before game prep, once they get to these scrimmages, if he's trying to see and get more out of these situations because he needs it from game one.
I agree. Like, I think they're going to have to score, but if you look at some of Lincoln Riley's teams, especially last year, right, their offense was explosive and their offense scored points, but there were times where their offense got shut down for like a few series in a row and then were behind and had to score, and then the other offense was able to stay pace and they weren't able to close that gap, right? You are going to have to score. You're also going to have to come up with a couple stops.
That's a part right there for me.
I think that offensively, they're going to be able to score, but I think what they need to do, and I think what you're going to see them do, is you're going to see them lean on the offensive line. You're going to say, hey, listen, we're going to have to establish our physicality. Or we're
Time
gonna
of possession.
No, I'm not saying time of possession, but we're going to have to challenge their defense and challenge the physicality in their defense because our defense may be better, but their offense is going to be good. You know that. So how do you combat that? Hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to exhaust you. We're going to keep your defense on the field. We're going to continue to score. And you may score, but you're not going to get the ball as much, and we're going to just continue to just pound and pound on your defense and score. And I'm not saying run the ball 500 times and it'd be boring. I'm saying you're just going to – you have the best offensive line.
However it goes, continue to move the sticks. I just think when you think about that game, looking ahead to it, if you were able to close your eyes and see the stat sheet at the end of the game, it's hard for me to believe that you won't see a productive Lincoln Riley USC offense, which usually leads to some type of point total.
Yeah.
In my mind, if that's what it's going to be, you got to go outscore them. Obviously, you're going to have to get key stops defensively, but I don't think the defense, in my mind, in this game has to be the star. You got to be able to show you can go up there and run it up on them, too.
Yeah.
What's the number you have to hold USC
I mean,
to?
Jesus, can we leave that to a game week?
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if you close your eyes, you see 35, you would think LSU wins.
I was going to say between 30 and 35 points.
That means LSU has to score.
Actually, my number was.
To your point,
Yeah, between 30 and 35.
I want to see a turnover.
Or two.
Or two.
Would be nice. On their side, not ours.
And the other factor they're talking about, this is what Fonz just brought up in the chat, is one thing we haven't talked about with this game and really this season is the special teams, because that has been a factor the last two openers.
And that not great reports early on special teams.
No.
Right now.
It'd be great to have a coach that really focused in on that. Maybe that was his job or something.
You would think. But we'll see. Listen, we got 3 weeks of what's going to happen,
20
what
days.
ifs, hypotheticals. Huh?
20 days.
20 days of what ifs and maybes. And what can we see? What happens if they do this? What happens if they don't do that? We're going to have all those conversations. But the beauty of these next 20 days is preseason football continues to happen. Well, there's a lot of LSU guys in the NFL right now that are doing really well. Obviously, Jayden Daniels had his first game. Brian Thomas Jr. doing what we've grown accustomed to watching Brian Thomas do last year. Beat guys down the field and make contested catches. Yep. Did it again last game or in the preseason game. His first big play as a Jacksonville Jaguar. I guess it was Trevor Lawrence, right? Did play through the ball. No, it wasn't Trevor Lawrence. Beathard?
CJ?
Yeah.
CJ Beathard, yep.
Throws it down the field, contested catch, makes the play. Brian Thomas does what Brian Thomas does and makes a big play. Jayden Daniels also threaded the needle on a deep ball because he can't throw the ball down the field. I think we've established that he can. And throws a dime, deep ball down the sidelines. It shows a little glimpse. Only threw 3 passes, 2 of 3 for like 45 yards, and then a rushing touchdown. So we have all of that to look forward to. A lot of new quarterbacks, a lot of guys that we grew accustomed to watching in college are now in the NFL. We're going to talk a lot about that. Hard Knocks is going to get you to the regular season. But before we get into that, unless y'all want to wait to the end of the show to talk about the basketball.
Yeah, we can. But real quick, you mentioned CJ Beathard, obviously Iowa alum. The Iowa football team,
ranked 25th.
Desperate for a better offense. They had an unofficial scrimmage. McNamara is who they brought in. Cade McNamara played at Michigan, I believe. They're supposed to be their answer. Right. 8 of 24 for 20 yards and an interception in the scrimmage.
It's a good start. You know, we got
great defense, though.
Got a little work
they
to
had
do.
Pick 6.
Got a little work
Great
to do.
defense.
Got a little cleaning up to do.
Great Look, are they going to be the top scoring defense in the country again?
Probably. Is that Kirk Ferentz? Is that his calling card? It must be.
No
Good
doubt.
Lord.
Unless you got, what's the quarterback? Something Tate?
Martell Tate?
No.
Tate Martell?
No, the guy who beat LSU on the Hail Mary in the bowl game, the Outback game.
Oh, Ronnie Prude?
Who is the quarterback? His last name was Tate, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch that game.
A long time ago. Why'd you bring that up? You just wanted to just throw shade at Iowa?
Yeah, just wanted to keep Iowa's right where they are. One to watch for. Sneaky playoff team. They won 10 games last year. Should have been 11.
That's crazy they won 10 games.
Yeah, with point totals for both teams in the 20s. Like that was the over-unders.
That's wild. You have
Drew Tate.
Drew Tate, there it is. You have 6 rookie quarterbacks right now in the NFL. All 6 played this past weekend. Can't really give too much of a take on Drake Maye. He is, you would imagine he is going to be the starter there just because they drafted him 3rd overall. They don't have a quarterback. Bo Nix got drafted, I think, 11th overall in Denver. Mm-hmm. It's the first quarterback that Sean has drafted in the first round, I believe, as a head coach, because he didn't draft a quarterback in the first round in New Orleans. He signed Drew Brees. And so he drafts Bo Nix. You'd imagine he's going to be the guy. Caleb Williams is the guy in Chicago. Jayden Daniels is the guy in D.C. There's no quarterback competition there. J.J. McCarthy was the one I think everybody was trying to figure out. He looked really good in the preseason game. And Michael Penix is going to get a lot of run as their first-team quarterback in Atlanta because Kirk Cousins is still recovering from Achilles surgery. Out of those guys, who's going to have the best first year? I know it's a tough question.
Jared said just disdain for these is so funny.
And look, this is
You're asking
it's
that
just
question.
a conversation.
I'm kind of thinking about it differently.
I say who has the most potential to have the best first year?
I mean, the most potential has the best first year.
Best off the team around him.
I think it's Caleb Williams. I mean, that was an 8 or 9 win team last year. They had no business because by what they did on the field last year, picking 1 overall, you picked 1 overall, you re-signed DJ, you
gave him
drafted
weapons.
Rome, you traded for it. I think they traded for it, and you got what's his name,
Keenan
Allen.
Allen.
Like they got weapons.
You
around him,
may
bro.
have the best receiving core in the
Yeah,
league.
like they got weapons around him. So I expect him to have the best year. But the expectations are lofty, and it does get hard to throw the ball once you get to November, December in Chicago with that breeze coming off the lake. So that'll be something to look for too. The situation I'm going to watch, though, the most, honestly, because I just think it's crazy and it's not talked about enough, but I think we would all say that this team is not necessarily in rebuilding now mode because of what they've done and the moves that they've made. Bro, they drafted Penix, a top 15 pick, bro, and you paid a quarterback
$180 million.
$100 million guaranteed.
And $100 million guaranteed. You don't draft a guy like that because you want him, you truly want him to sit. And you got a quarterback who's coming off an Achilles. Now, Achilles is starting to turn into an injury where it's not the death sentence to a career anymore, right? We're starting to see a turn in that right now. But we also don't know how healthy Kirk is. We also don't know how he's going to be with this group of guys. We don't know how it's going to play out. And there's a new coaching staff there and everything. So that's a spot right there because I don't even know what their schedule is to start the year. But we know how football is, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you start the year off 1-3, 2-4, that noise gets loud in NFL football about, hey, you got this guy sitting here, and I don't know how good Kirk is going to look early in the year. I don't know how in sync him and those receivers are going to be early in the year. So that noise starts to get loud, and not everybody's got a top 15 pick sitting there ready to go who's looked good, who's polished, who is a absolute gunslinger.
And it's not like you drafted a quarterback who was a junior at 20 years old.
He's got a lot of football
You
played.
drafted a fifth-year guy
Got a
who's
lot of football
older
played.
and who's proven himself. Like, so it's like, oh, you have to wait 3 years before you can start. Like, no, that's not kind of the situation. That's going to be an interesting dynamic there. I didn't understand that draft pick after you just spent all this money on a quarterback that you felt comfortable.
I low-key
kind
of understood it. If I had to at all guess kind of where this came from, I'm just somewhat surprised that it was signed off on. But you got to remember, man, Raheem Morris, I believe, has had one. I think he's had an interim job, and I think he's had one head coaching job.
Tampa Bay.
Neither one of them spots did they have a quarterback, and they was trash.
Yeah.
And I think in his mind is like, you will never. If I get fired from this job, it won't be because I don't have quarterback play.
Right.
I'm going to make sure I got one of them on the roster. And I think that was a lot of the thinking behind it, loving probably what they had already as a roster. We'll see what they're able to do with it.
I kind of like the situation Bo Nix has in Denver. And I wasn't a huge Bo Nix fan in college. You know, it wasn't because I didn't like the guy. I just didn't really like the way he played. He played way better at Oregon. And then as you watch it, you're like, oh, he threw a lot of short passes. But I guess when you really break down the film, when you take away those short pop passes, his percentage and his efficiency down the field was maybe the best in the country, behind Jayden Daniels, I believe. And so he gets drafted to Denver in a situation where you have a quarterback coach who's showing you when he was in New Orleans, there's a head coach who's shown that he can develop quarterbacks in New Orleans. When you have three guys playing, you go 9-8 in New Orleans with a team that had no quarterback basically. You draft a guy in the first round, you develop him, you've been extremely high on him from the jump. I kind of like that situation for him. He doesn't have to compete with a guy who's been established in the NFL. He's competing with Jarrett Stidham. I almost said Jason Statham.
Oh,
that'd be an interesting one too.
He's a linebacker, bro.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah. He's a safety, no doubt. He's a roamer.
Safety with a linebacker mindset. That's what it is.
Jarrett Stidham, who's been in the NFL for a long time, but hasn't been real super established, super talented. Brought him over there, right, because he had confidence in him. But then drafted Bo Nix. I like the situation for Nix in Denver.
Go
ahead. Okay. I was just going to say, to add on top of all that, like, he basically sent Russell Wilson away for the
for a lot of money.
For
Russell Wilson now, I mean, can't get on the field right now. He's a little hurt. You know, you have a former number 1 overall pick in the draft, just getting some run. Now, he had some hiccups last time. He couldn't get the ball from under center. Fumbled a couple times.
Justin Fields?
Yes. I mean, Russell Wilson's not playing. Right?
I saw Justin Fields run around out there for the Steelers in preseason games. Like, there he is again. That's what he does, I guess. But I was just saying because of how Sean Payton went out of his way almost to get a quarterback. And I guess he could have made a move to get a different one, but it felt like he really settled on his mind on, like, I want Bo Nix. And so I don't know if that's going to work out. I mean, Bo Nix has played under pressure
61 starts in college.
And he did it at Auburn where his dad was a legend. He started as a freshman. Like, I think he's built to handle that. And I think a lot of our conversation about Bo Nix and while maybe you don't, quote-unquote, like him.
Auburn.
Not only that, he beat LSU at LSU,
Single-handedly.
8 o'clock game at night. But then it was the Jayden Daniels versus Bo Nix Heisman conversation where you had to go through and like pick apart.
Why is he not good? Yeah.
Yeah, like he's going to win the Heisman. It's like, well, this is why he's not. And it just became a conflated argument of like, well, now I don't like the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do think he's
Yeah, I think he's good.
played a lot of ball.
Hey, look, I think Jaden's gonna have a good year too. It's just I'm up in the air about Washington right now. Like I don't really know
Much about him.
much about Washington right now. So I think he's gonna be good. I'm not saying he's not gonna be good in the NFL. I don't know as far as around him. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, for Bo Nix being one of those quarterbacks, or it might have been the last one of the quarterbacks to go in the first round, right? Was he the 5th or the 6th one that went in the first round?
When
this
did
year?
Penix go?
No, Bo
Penix
Nix
went
I know.
9.
Penix went 9.
Penix-
So Bo
Penix
Nix
went
went
right
11.
after. So yeah.
And then
okay.
J.J. McCarthy was after that. I think he
Okay.
was the last one.
He was one of the last two, right? So for where he came off the board with the situation that he's going into, like we've talked about it, he's played a ton of football already, right? He's played a ton of football. He's seen it in different conferences. He's played in a lot of different styles already. For him to have a quarterback coach like Sean Payton, somebody who helped Drew Brees take his career to a different stratosphere, who helped Jameis Winston become the quarterback that threw 1 million turnovers and 1 million picks to all of a sudden he's through 6 or 7 games and he's only got like 2 picks, right? Before he got hurt, before he had the back injury. For someone that's done that in his past to get a guy in who's played a ton of football, who's a smart player, it's a great situation for him to be in. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we looked up in the middle of the year and he's probably having one of the best years of the group. But yeah, I mean, I think that's if you're looking for ideal situations and where to go and somebody that's going to help you develop, I'm not sure you could have picked a better spot.
Yeah.
And you got to remember what Russell has done as a quarterback of Denver largely is the outward perception of where he is right now. It's largely because of 2 years ago. Not so much because of last year.
Because last year he was okay.
Last year he was a serviceable quarterback. I think a lot of the noise is from what he did with Nathaniel Hackett 2 years ago there. So Russell gets a lot of that hate there. Obviously leaving Seattle, terrible year, and then competent football, if you will, last year. A lot of the hate is because of that first year in Denver. Yeah, man, like you put Bo with that combination, there is a chance that he can. And I'm someone that's talked not badly about Bo, but I've never been a Bo believer. I can tell you right now, with that situation, wouldn't be surprised at all if he's having one of the better years.
I mean, what about Spencer Rattler? You know what I mean, Lloyd? I mean, he's could be the guy for you, right, in New Orleans? Diehard Saints fan over there.
I was impressed by the way he chucked his shoulder down and just really went for the pylon.
Got the touchdown.
I do like the hat game is strong.
You what?
The hat game's strong.
Yep.
I don't know if he's allowed to wear that, but he keeps doing it.
He keeps doing
Rattler's
it.
been impressive. It seems like a bit of an attitude change.
Yeah,
It seems like he's enjoying definitely the conversation around him. I'm sure he loves that. But he's saying all the right things.
Yeah.
He seems
like, you know,
the conversation was going to get loud because that's the worst thing that could have happened to.
Yeah, well, the offensive line.
I like Spencer Rattler more than I like Carr.
Offensive line is not great.
Penning is having a rough go, and we might see him again.
Penning is struggling. I mean, Penning, he's allowing defensive end to get a sprinting start at him to protect the quarterback.
Playing in space.
By the time they make contact, he's like 3 feet from the quarterback.
And he's got a full head of steam.
Not great.
They said they should put him. A lot of the fans are chiming in on the Penning situation. They put him at guard.
I think you put him on the bench.
I think you put him
and
on
you
the
just go
waiver
try to
wire.
find somebody else to go figure it out.
But that's not a good omen for the Saints.
No.
That's tough to do when you don't have Ramczyk this year. You need something out of him.
Right?
You were expecting that at least.
He's got to figure something out.
I don't know if you could just move on from him just yet. You have to, for better or for worse, you're kind of stuck with at least seeing if there's something that
he's gonna get the first run at it.
Of course.
Put him at right guard. Hell, fuck it. I mean, it can't be worse than right tackle. I don't know what he was doing.
Who's going to play right tackle? That was the question. He's got to play right tackle.
Well, don't look at that film if that's what that's not teaching tape.
No.
That's the one we throw away and be like, look,
well, you got to teach them. Maybe that is a teaching tape.
Maybe
hey,
so.
This is everything you did wrong. This is how you fix it. We'll see. Teaching tape.
Step.
The other teaching tape, if you want to watch what passion and pride for your country and superstars, what it looks like for these superstars to all buy into a team and do something really special. What Team USA basketball did was pretty awesome, right? They had Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry are going to go down as 3 of the best basketball players of all time. Okay? Jason Tatum didn't really play much. He didn't score 1 point or didn't make 1 field goal in the Olympics. He was 0 for 16, didn't barely play, was on the bench. You had Tyrese Halliburton, who is a budding superstar in the NBA for the Pacers, on the bench, didn't play. You had Drew Holiday, who is known for being a glue guy, great point guard, great player. He had some very impactful minutes. Joel Embiid had some impactful minutes. Bam Adebayo didn't play all that time, but when he did, he was
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker was, according to Steve Kerr, the unsung hero, the unsung MVP of the team, because never complained, did what he needed to do, didn't score a ton of points, wasn't the focal point. And everybody's complaining about, like, oh, this is – it shows you that, hey, they were there for one mission, and that was to win a gold medal. International competition is better than it's ever been. So people who say that they should win and they should do this, you had to play against Serbia, who had the three-time MVP in NBA, right? One of the most skilled basketball players maybe that has ever played.
Widely regarded. I don't know if it's a majority, but it's widely regarded as the best player in the NBA right now.
Right. You know, so you have to go up against them, against Serbia team who's he's the best player, but they all play similar to him, right? Then you got to play France, who's playing in their home country against one of the most freakishly athletic and talented NBA basketball players that we have ever seen, right? I know he was only a rookie.
The alien,
right? He's 7'4", and he can handle the ball like a point guard, step back threes, best defender in the NBA, right? So you're playing against some really, really, really good competition, and you got 3 of the best players in the NBA, and those guys literally played almost every single minute. You had LeBron James running the point, and you had Steph Curry do something in a game where the whole world's watching. Some things when the whole world is watching. He said the last thing he needed to do after 22, the last thing he needed to do was win a gold medal. He's on the Olympic team, and he is the reason, in my mind, they won the gold medal. What he did that last 4 minutes of the game.
Those last 4 possessions that he had were, as must-see TV and as iconic of
and you see in the NBA
basketball moment. Yeah, dude.
But
we've seen him do a lot in the NBA, man, and just kind of being able to do it on the stage that he was able to do it. You pulled up a picture earlier of him making the shot over Wembanyama. I personally feel like I'm watching a clip from Space Jam right there, and Wembanyama's the Monstars. Like, that's what it looks like.
I don't even know how you got the ball off.
I don't know how you get the ball off and how you get it over somebody like that, but those last 4 possessions that he played, that they had in that game, where he sealed the game basically, man, that's legendary type of stuff. It's an iconic moment. It's kind of one of those situations. Like, I'll always remember the Jordan push by. I remember exactly. I was at a basketball camp, sleepover overnight, 7-day basketball camp, watching the Jordan versus Jazz push by shot that he makes. I'll always remember where I was watching that game, just because what the situation was, where they were, what they were playing for, who the team was, who's on the team, and the way he basically took over. If you really watch and you go back and watch those last 4 possessions, before we even get to the circus shot that he made that was last, it's a team of superstars if you're watching it. They all sat around and was like, feed Steph.
Yeah.
He is hot. He is feeling it. Let's make room. We'll move. Feed this man the rock. Like, it's a team of super. They don't have to do that. All them dudes they're the man where they are. And they were all like, hey, bro, get that man the rock and let him cook right now. And that's exactly what he did.
Well, and they all want that moment. Like, they'd love to all be the hero for Team USA at
Which
France.
made it that much more special.
Right, and they were like,
yep.
Steph, I've seen this a million times, and I finally get
Here
to be
it
a
is.
part of it, as
Here it
opposed
is what
to
he's
on
doing.
the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I felt like America was watching. You've watched Golden State go from a team where nobody, it's not like Steph was an enemy, but nobody was watching and going, oh, I love Golden State if you weren't from there. But this was your opportunity to be like, I get to be on the same team as Steph when he gets to, he's done this to me.
That's a team of closers all deferring and being the setup man and saying, hey,
Kevin
you
Durant
close.
gets the last shot on his team. LeBron gets the last shot on his team.
But before Durant was there, Devin Booker was getting the last shot.
Right.
LeBron gets the last shot. Durant gets the last shot. Book gets the last shot.
Jason Tatum, who's not playing, gets the last shot. Right. All these guys are their guy. Right. Steph gets the last shot in Golden State. Well, when they're playing together, and those guys who are all used to that understand the moment, understand the situation, and they say, hey, I'm not too big for this moment. I'm going to let him do it because all that matters is when I've already done everything I need to do in my career. It's not going to make or break my career. And they understand, hey, listen, this guy's hot. We're going to let him do what he needs to do. We're going to pick and roll. We're going to make him get open. He's going to be able to have the freedom to do whatever he wants. And he goes and makes 4 straight three-pointers. And in his last one, I don't even know how he got it off. But like once the ball got out of his hand, did not get blocked, I'm watching.
You already knew.
It's going in.
You knew.
And I was like, I didn't know how.
There's
it was
no
gonna
one
go
else
in,
that takes
but it
that
went
shot.
in.
There's possibly one person I could think of in the NBA that takes that shot and you don't give him like the side eye when he takes it. Anybody else, you're like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah.
The only other person I can think of that's possibly is Damian Lillard. Other than
Right.
that, everybody else, you're like, bro, what are you thinking? And like for him to take that shot, and when he's gotten to a point in his career where he's done stuff similar to that so much that when it left his hand, not only were you okay with shooting it, but you felt like it was going in with what he done.
Yeah.
And it actually did. So like that was incredible.
It was
fun to
an
watch.
unbelievable game to watch. And look, France played great. It was before the last really 2 possessions of the game when France got down to 3 points, right? Or 4 points, 3 or 4 points. And then Steph goes and makes a 3, right, to make it 6. And then he gets the ball back, makes a 3 to make it go to 9.
But
right?
then there was opportunity. There were times when France was answering.
That's my point. After that, once it got to about the 6 to 9 point range, France kept coming back, right?
And the Americans did their
threes.
job. The Americans did their job in a sense of there was enough turnovers in that fourth quarter that kept France in the game, but France got those opportunities and they took advantage of them as well. And
listen,
that's why
it was
what
the way that it was refereed and the way the game was called. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, NBA needs to take notes.
It was playoff basketball, but it was physical. You had France was forcing turnovers. I mean, Steph turned the ball over a couple times at the end of the game that led to transition baskets. You had France making 3-pointers, answering Team USA's 3-pointers, and you could feel like, all right, you need somebody to close it out. If the United States would miss a shot and France had the ball, you could feel like, okay, France was going to make a run, and Steph didn't allow it to happen. He made every single shot he needed to separate that, and it was pretty. To me, it was one of the maybe one of the best moments you're going to see on a basketball court.
Yeah.
That's it. Hey, that's demoralizing if you're on the France side.
Bro,
like,
there's nothing you can
when
do.
you watch a man just rock you to sleep like that and there's nothing that you can do
against the best defender in the NBA.
Oh man,
2 of them.
Crazy.
He is.
Lloyd, pull up that picture again if you get a chance to just throw it on there again to kind of see, bro. It literally looks like it's a scene from Space Jam. Like he looks like one of the Monstars playing against.
Because he is a Monstar.
He is.
Right, and you got Steph who.
He's a full foot taller than Steph.
Gets enough separation to like. If you just throw it's the way the ball left his hand, the way he shot it was almost like it is a buzzer beater at halftime.
Yeah.
Or like I got to get this up out of my hand because the shot clock's going down. I got to just get it up.
It looked like, oh, that's a broken play. Let me just get it up and get it off the rim somehow.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Where the ball is.
Look at that.
I mean, look at how long this man is.
It's an unbelievable.
Look at how high this shot is. Where does that ball travel? Like, how does that ball get over him?
Bottom.
In the net.
Gushies.
Wow. Gushies. I mean, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Steph's in the NBA too. It looks like this man was made in a lab to play this sport.
Hey,
he's gonna be a problem in 4 years.
Steph's had a lot of moments. I would imagine that he's like, man, it'd be cool to have that picture on my wall. That's probably one he's gonna have somewhere.
No doubt. I mean that could double as a curtain call, but we had to give some sort of conversation to that because that was an unbelievable display of basketball. It was great basketball being
I don't want to
played.
sleep, but we'd be remiss not to even mention this. But like, they almost should have went with the women's finals first. Congrats to the women.
Congrats.
They also collected a goal with it as well. But like, that's hard to follow that game right there. When you
and
have to
that was a nut cutter.
It was a good game, yeah. 100%.
France.
They were
literally
away from tying that thing up.
Was about half a foot from tying it up. The girl throws a runner 3-pointer at the buzzer, basically, and her foot's on the line. So if it being 3 to tie, it's a 2, and they end up winning. So congratulations to both. Congratulations to France for putting a great display of basketball, giving us a lot of entertainment. But what Steph did and how he finished that game, one of the best basketball moments I think I've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
So shout out to them. All right, Lloyd. We hadn't done a mistake of the day in a minute. I had Doe's this weekend.
Oh, did you?
Went to Doe's Friday night. Didn't have the burger because
it's not allowed.
It's not allowed at night. We had a steak, some tamales.
Oh,
the fries are fire. The Brussels. They had a special to Brussels. Unbelievable. Great. Making me very hungry right now.
I could go back.
Mistake of the day is brought to you by our friend. Do we have one?
Yes, I don't know if you've seen this, but it was obviously the Colts are very excited about preseason football with the return of Anthony Richardson. Here is a man in a Colts jersey that decided to write his own theme song for the start of preseason football, and it's the end that you want to stick around for.
This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue. This is our Colts. Whether win or lose, we love them. For the shoe, beat the Broncos. Let's show them who the real horse is. This is our team. Go Colts.
Hits him with the neigh at the end like a horse.
Can I give another mistake of the day?
Sure.
So, I gotta address an elephant in the room, and I'm getting a lot of strays being thrown at me today. Because if you've watched Major League Baseball, there was a play that happened.
I thought about this.
Listen, I'm getting a lot of tweets. They're showing my play, which is on our trailer, which is was a blooper of mine in Major League Baseball. It was called a home run. I have said on this show that the rule is it's a double. They messed up on the rule. It was a double. Should have been a double.
Before.
They gave Jose Ramirez the home run. It was bullshit. I was explaining to our outfield coach what I was doing, and I was explaining hey, the ball bounced twice on the fence. It should not be a home run.
What's the worst that could happen?
I knocked it over. It was a homer. Well, you fast forward. That was in 2017. Now you fast forward to 2024, 7 years. That makes me feel old. That was a long time ago. Similar thing happens. Doesn't happen as embarrassing of a fashion as mine did.
They had a great view for yours.
Huh?
They had a great view for yours.
Yeah, it sucked. But this one, the guy was making a good attempt at a play. It just so happened that he got there a second late. It hits off the wall, then hits off his glove, and goes over the fence. They call it a double, make the correct call. It was actually called a homer. Reviewed it. Double, make the correct call. And now I'm getting
chirped?
Strays. No, not really chirped. Listen, baseball history nut. 209,000 followers on Twitter. Has a video, is this a home run? It's me. And, it's not a home run. It's a double. They made the ruling. They showed the ruling. They fucked me. It's bullshit.
186 comments.
I don't want to read the comments.
Double.
Double.
The comment section go crazy.
Double.
Oh, they're just talking about the ruling.
It's a double. They screwed me. Screwed our team. Jose Ramirez should take a home run away from his career.
We can go back and play it again.
I would love that. That means I'm back in the big leagues. I love that.
Same thing happens again.
No. I mean, if you watch the video, it sees me. I'm looking at the fence. It's like, okay, I got to see where I'm at. And then I see the ball coming at me. I'm like, I'm done.
We can go do it at Breck Park, too, if you want to do it.
They are asking, is this true? Is this one of the stadiums that had the rule that the yellow line counts as a home run? If not, then double. Because there are some places where if it hits above the on the yellow line,
yeah, but
that's not.
But I don't know which one it is, but that is true. Some places ground rules, you set your own ground rules. So places, it's not uniform across the league. Some places are different.
No, that one had to go over.
Oh, so it's a single with a 3-base error.
I mean, I don't know if you can get that a single. It's a double.
Yeah, double with a 2-base error.
Double.
I mean, it don't really matter. I mean, the bases are still.
Yeah, it's a double. It's a double. They didn't give me an error on that play.
No, I'm just saying.
Gave him a homer.
If it was an error, it doesn't matter how many bases are still an error. It's just
so
it counts as one.
I wanted to bring that up because mistake of the day to the umpire ruling in 2017. They should not have given him a home run.
You feel validated.
No, look, it still would have been a blooper, but it wouldn't have been as bad of, hey, this guy only got to second base, and then whoever's on the mound is going to shut him down. not give up the run. I was going to come back in the dugout. We're going to laugh about it. Oh, how stupid am I? Whatever, no homer. Instead, it was a home run, and now everybody's looking at me like I'm an idiot.
My dude, Mikie Mahtook rocks. I can make fun of him because he used this vid in the intro of his own show at Mik'd Up 8. Glimmer for Debt. That's our guy.
Appreciate it, Glimmer. But yes, so.
That's so funny that came back up. I did think about you. I was they got his call
My cousin
wrong.
sent me an Instagram video today. He says, you're catching some strays today. I'm like, yeah. Mine was way worse.
Yeah. More athletic.
Or less athletic.
Some people say it was 40 chests by you. This is what everybody should do. If it only counts as a double, just knock it over the wall. Get rid of it.
I was ahead of my game. Ahead of my time. They just screwed me.
Analytics. Oakland A's probably are still looking at this. Smart.
Look, ball bounced on the wall. Guy on first base, knock it over the fence, second and third. The guy does not score from first base. That's what I was out if you watch the whole video. I was talking about. That's what I was explaining to him.
I was under the impression that the ruling was this, so this is what I was doing.
I know what the rule book is. I go to bed sleep. I go to sleep reading the rule book. I understand. I dream this. When you have to sit in the outfield and you think about, okay,
you play the scenarios through your head.
The scenario, I said, if this happens, if this ball hits off the top of the fence twice, I'm gonna knock it over, so it's a double.
Save a run.
They screwed it up. I knew what I was doing.
Yep, the whole time. Baseball history.
But I wanted to bring that up. Baseball history nut. Call me out. At least tag me in it. Bullshit.
I'll retweet it.
That's not the definition of a stray.
Ran from you.
All right. Curtain Call is brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners. Me. What we got?
Curtain Call. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I did not see this video. It is of the Serbian national team getting recognized in Serbia upon their return of winning the bronze. This looks like a party.
Wow. That's
one ambulance is going to save everybody there.
That's one that Jokic was happy to be at.
This is what he thinks a party is.
That's one parade. There he is. He's still, he's happy, looks smiling. He's happy.
It gets a little crazier.
The other guys like,
whoa. Yeah, what's going on there?
They do road flares everywhere.
Wow.
And this is what he was talking about when they asked if he was going to be intimidated playing in an away game in the finals. He's like, I play in Serbia.
Wow.
And that's a huge gathering for
bronze.
For bronze, not LeBron's.
Impressive.
What you got?
I'm going to swing it over to the Americans. Hey! We talked about it already, though, but seriously, tied for, which we should have. We should have got the gold medal win, but we tied China for the amount of gold medals, most overall medals, another successful Olympics for the American squad. So I'm going to give my love, a little curtain call to every American Olympian that participated. Good luck again in 4 years.
Yep. My curtain call is if you were watching, probably not watching, but NBA TV
today,
NBA Today reporter Malik Andrews. If you're not familiar, there was a earthquake, 4.7, I think, on the Richter scale in LA. She was live. She handled this situation like an absolute champ. Listen, I'm very ADD. If something like that happened to me, I think I'd get a little rattled. She's way more professional than I am. She handled it about as gracefully and as good as you could, and that, to me, whenever something like this happens, pretty impressive.
I don't have the audio playing because I didn't want to get flagged.
Yeah. So anyway, obviously you saw it shaking. Studio is shaking. She's making sure everybody's okay. She's making sure the lights and the cameras don't fall down. She's in the middle of an interview. She figures out, hey, a producer says, all right, everybody's good. She makes sure, and she goes back to the interview.
She was making sure that everybody in the control room was also good. So the producers and the directors that are in there was making sure that they're good. But the crazy part about it is if you get a chance to listen to it, without the camera shaking and the camera angle and all that stuff going on,
you would have known.
You would have never known. There's no break in her voice. Her eyebrows never raised. There's none of that ever happens. Like if the camera doesn't shake, you would have thought she was joking or something. That's how well she handled it.
Yep. So
that camera almost went down. Huh? Yeah. I don't know if it was that it had to be on the shoulder, but he almost whoa.
Oh yeah.
That would have been a big mistake, big fall.
Yeah,
expensive
fall.
Expensive.
Or maybe it was on a stand that
that would be even
Remember,
crazier.
like we almost had at the first pitch banquet when we got our camera almost
Oh,
fell, and
yeah.
that was a great catch by.
I don't think it was on a stand, by the way.
No, it was that
By the way, it
older
actually
gentleman.
it recovered. I think
Yeah.
it was. I think it was one that was being handheld, like
Yeah,
man
right.
handheld.
Right.
He was in the control center.
But shout out to them. Shout out to her. That was a very impressive recovery there. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your Monday. We appreciate you tuning in with us. We're very excited to be back here live in studio. We'll be back live on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. It's Ask Mikey and Mitch Wednesday. We will have some guests talk football. We're going to have some guests hopefully talk some LSU football, talk some Saints football, maybe have some guests come in. We're lining up some of special guests in the next couple weeks to talk a lot of LSU football, a lot of football in general. Some heavy hitters. Obviously, they're a little busy right now preparing. But we got them lined up for you. So we appreciate you. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you don't like watching us, you like listening to us, or anywhere you get your pods. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll be back live on Wednesday. We
Ask
love
Mikey
you.
and Mitch.
Ask Mikey and Mitch Wednesday. Put your questions in the on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. And if you're watching us live on Wednesday, put them in the chat. We'll remind you. We love you. Peace.